Welcome to this IGCSE math tutorial. This tutorial is on algebra and more specifically on products. We're going to look at 27 questions, and all of these questions are based on an analysis of more than 20 past exams. If you haven't done products before, you can use this tutorial to make sure that you learn all the standard techniques required and be able to answer any question in the exam. If you're using this tutorial for revision purposes, you should really try each question first before you look at the answer. So in number 1 here, we have to expand the brackets. We know that brackets mean multiplication. So we have to multiply what's in front of the brackets by everything inside the brackets. And we can use the distributive law of multiplication over addition and subtraction to multiply into the brackets in this way. In other words, we can multiply across the minus here. So 2x times x, we know that when we multiply two numbers that are the same, we add the powers. Both of these x's have a power of 1, which we don't write. So 2x times x will give us 2x to the power of 1 plus 1, so 2x squared. Then we have the negative, and 2x times 3 will give us 6x. We multiply the 3x into the brackets across the negative. Then when we multiply the x's, we add the powers, and we know their powers are 1 each. So 3x times x will give us 3x to the power of 1 plus 1, so 3x squared. Then we have the negative, and the 3 times the 4 will give us 12, and x times y is xy. Multiplying the a in front of the brackets into the brackets, we know that this a has a power of 1, which we don't write. So when we multiply the a's, we're going to add the powers. So a to the power of 1 times a cubed will be a to the power of 1 plus 3. So a to the power 4. Then we have the plus. And of course, a times 1 is equal to a. We multiply the negative 5p into the brackets. So negative 5 times 3 is negative 15, and p times p is p squared when we add the powers of the p's. Then a negative times a negative is a positive. 5 times 2 is 10, and p times q is pq. Here, the negative in front of the brackets is actually negative 1. Of course, we don't write this 1, but it's actually negative 1. Then multiplying negative 1 into the brackets. So we're going to have a negative times a negative, which is a positive, and 1 times m is m. Then we have a negative times a positive, which is a negative, and 1 times n is n. So it's m minus n. So we multiply this t cubed into the brackets. Then t cubed times t cubed will be t to the power of 6 because we're adding the powers. Then we have this plus. T cubed times t squared will be t to the power of 5, adding the powers. Then we know there's a plus here in front of this t cubed that we don't write. So then we have a plus times a minus, which will give us a minus. And t cubed times r will give us t cubed r. So multiplying the a squared into the brackets. When we multiply a squared by a, we add the powers, And of course, there's a power of 1 here that we don't write. So a squared times a will be a cubed. When we add the powers, then we have the plus. A squared times b is a squared b. Then this plus. And a squared times c is a squared c. We multiply the pq into the brackets. So then pq times p, we add the powers of the p's. There's a power of 1 here that we don't write, as well as over here. So p times p will give us p squared, and then of course the q. So pq times p will give us p squared q. Then we have a plus. Now we add the powers of the q's when we multiply. So then pq times q will give us pq, and in adding the powers of the q, we'll get q squared. Then we have a negative. Here we multiply pq by pq. So p times p will give me p squared, and q times q will give me q squared. What's important to note here is that we only multiply the number in front of the brackets with everything inside the brackets. So we'll only multiply the negative 2 into the brackets. This 3a here has nothing to do with the brackets. So we're going to multiply like this. So rewriting the 3a, and then multiplying the negative 2 into the brackets. So negative 2 times 2a is negative 4a, and negative 2 times positive 4 is negative 8. Now we add like terms. So 3a minus 4a is negative a, because 4a is numerically bigger than 3a and it's negative. So we know our answer will be negative. So 3a minus 4a is negative a, and then of course we still have this negative 8. So we're going to multiply this negative 3p into the brackets, because that's what's immediately in front of the brackets. So we keep the 5p. Then negative 3p times p will give us negative 3p squared. Of course, we are adding the powers of the p's when we multiply. Then we have a negative times a positive, which is a negative. And 3p times 2 will give us 6p. Now we can add like terms. So then 5p minus 6p is negative p. And then of course we still have the negative 3p squared. What's important to note is that the negative in front of the brackets actually means that we have a negative 1 here, which we don't write. So we're going to multiply the negative 1 into the brackets. So we're going to keep the 3 for now. So it's 3, and then a minus times a minus is a plus, and 1 times m is m. Then we have a negative times a positive here, which is a negative, and 1 times 1 is 1. Now we can add like terms. So 3 minus 1 is 2, and then of course we still have the plus m here. So we multiply the 7 into the brackets. 7 times 3m will give us 21m. Then we know there's a plus here in front of the 7 that we don't write. So a plus times a minus will give us a minus. And 7 times 2n is 14n. And of course we still have the plus 8n here. Now we can add like terms. We know that these are like terms, so we can add them. So we have 21m, then negative 14n plus 8n is negative 6n. We're going to start by multiplying the 6 into the first set of brackets. So 6 times 2y is 12y. Then we have a minus, and 6 times 3 is 18. Of course, we do have a plus here in front of the 6 that we don't write, and a plus times a minus will give us a minus. Now we're going to multiply the negative 4 into the second set of brackets. So negative 4 times y is negative 4y. A minus times a plus is a minus, and 4 times 1 is 4. Now we can add like terms. So we know 12y and 4y are like terms. So 12y minus 4y is 8y. Then negative 18 minus 4 is negative 22. We can start by multiplying the 7a into the first set of brackets. So 7a times b is 7ab. Then we have a minus. 7a times 2c is 14ac. Now we can multiply the negative c into the second set of brackets. So negative c times 2a is negative 2ac. A minus times a minus is a plus, and c times c is c squared. Now we can add like terms. So these two are like terms. So we can rewrite the 7ab. Then negative 14ac minus 2ac is negative 16ac. And then of course we still have the plus c squared. We multiply the 4 into the first set of brackets. So 4 times 2x is 8x. Then we have a plus, and 4 times 5 is 20. Now we can multiply the negative 5 into the second set of brackets. So negative 5 times 3x is negative 15x. Then a minus times a plus is a minus, so 5 times 7 is 35. Now we can add like terms. So 8x minus 15x is negative 7x, and 20 minus 35 is negative 15. Multiplying the 3a into the first set of brackets. So 3a times a is 3a squared, and of course we are adding the powers of the a's. Then we have a plus, and 3a times 2 is 6a. Now we can multiply the negative 2 into the second set of brackets. So negative 2 times a squared is negative 2a squared. A minus times a minus is a plus, and 2 times 1 is 2. We add the like terms. So we know that 3a squared and 2a squared are like terms. So 3a squared minus 2a squared is a squared. And then we have plus 6a plus 2. So here we have to multiply our two brackets. So we multiply each term in the first set of brackets by each term in the second set of brackets. And we can generally use this pattern of multiplication. So we're multiplying the x in the first set of brackets by each term in the second set of brackets. And then we multiply the 4 in the first set of brackets, also by each term in the second set of brackets. So then x times x is x squared when we add the powers. Then we have x times negative 7, which is negative 7x. Then we have 4 times x. Of course, it's positive 4 times x, so it gives us positive 4x. Then we have positive 4 times negative 7. So a plus times a minus is a minus. And 4 times 7, of course, is 28. So now we can add the like terms. These two are like terms. So we have x squared, then negative 7x plus 4x is negative 3x. And then, of course, we still have the negative 28. So we multiply each term in the first set of brackets by each term in the second set of brackets. And we can do it in this way. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared. Then 3x times positive y is positive 3xy. Then we have negative 5y times 2x, which is negative 10xy. And then negative 5y times positive y is negative 5y squared. Now we add like terms. So these two are like terms. And we know that positive 3 minus 10 is negative 7. So 3xy minus 10xy is negative 7xy. And then, of course, we still have this term. So here we have brackets squared. Now, there's more than one way of expanding these brackets, but we're going to stick to one method. We know that anything squared means we are multiplying it by itself. So x minus 7 all squared, we can write as x minus 7 times itself. And now we expand in the usual way. So the first term in the first set of brackets, we're going to multiply by each term in the second set of brackets. Then the second term in the first set of brackets, we're going to multiply by each term in the second set of brackets. So then multiplying out in this way, x times x will give us x squared. X times negative 7 is negative 7x. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x. Then a minus times a minus is a plus. And 7 times 7 is 49. Our last step will be to add the like terms. So we have x squared. Then negative 7x minus 7x is negative 14x. And we still have the plus 49. So the square tells us that we are multiplying x plus 3 by itself. So we can write it as x plus 3 times x plus 3. And we can multiply out in the usual way. So using this pattern. Then x times x will give us x squared. X times positive 3 is positive 3x. Positive 3 times x will give us positive 3x. And positive 3 times positive 3 will give us positive 9. So we can add the like terms. 3x plus 3x will give us 6x. So then plus 9. So here we have to multiply out 3 brackets. It's always better to multiply out the last 2 brackets using this pattern. So we're going to keep the x minus 2. So the first set of brackets we're going to keep for now. Then multiplying out these brackets, so 2x times x will give us 2x squared. 2x times 3 will give us 6x. Positive 5 times x will give us plus 5x. And positive 5 times positive 3 will give us positive 15. The next step now is to add the like terms in the second set of brackets. So 6x plus 5x will give us 11x and then plus 15. Now we can multiply out these remaining brackets. So the first term in the first set of brackets by each term in the second set of brackets. And in the second term in the first set of brackets, multiplied by each term in the second set of brackets. So let's do that. So x times 2x squared is 2x cubed. Of course, we're adding the powers of the x's. Then x times 11x is 11x squared. Then x times 15 will give us 15x. Then negative 2 times 2x squared will give us negative 4x squared. Negative 2 times 11x is negative 22x. And negative 2 times positive 15 is negative 30. We can add like terms. So we can add 11x squared and 4x squared. So 11x squared minus 4x squared is 7x squared. We can also add 15x and 22x because they are like terms. So 15x minus 22x is minus 7x. And of course, we still have the negative 30. And this is our final answer. We're going to start by multiplying out the last two brackets. So we can do this first. And we're going to keep the 3x minus 2 for now. So x times x will be x squared. X times positive 1 is positive x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times positive 1 is negative 4. We can add the like terms in the second set of brackets. So x squared. Then we have positive x minus 4x is negative 3x. Now we can multiply out the remaining brackets. So we can use this pattern. So 3x times x squared is 3x cubed, adding the powers of the x's. Then 3x times negative 3x is negative 9x squared. Then 3x times negative 4 is negative 12x. Then negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 3x is positive 6x. And we also have negative 2 times negative 4, which is positive 8. We can add like terms. So negative 9x squared minus 2x squared is negative 11x squared. And then negative 12x plus 6x will give us negative 6x. And then we also have the positive 8 here. X minus 2 all squared means that we are multiplying x minus 2 by itself here. So we can rewrite this expression. We can write x minus 2 as a repeated product. So x minus 2 multiplied by itself. Now we can start by expanding the last two brackets. So So then we can use this pattern. X times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 2 will give us positive 4. So before we continue multiplying out, we can add like terms in the second set of brackets. So negative 2x minus 2x is negative 4x. Now we can multiply out the remaining brackets. So once again, using this pattern. So 2x times x squared will give us 2x cubed when we add the powers of the x's. Then 2x times negative 4x is negative 8x squared. And 2x times positive 4 is positive 8x. Now, positive 3 times x squared is positive 3x squared. Positive 3 times negative 4x is negative 12x. And 3 times 4 will give us 12. Finally, we can add like terms. So negative 8x squared plus 3x squared will give us negative 5x squared. And 8x minus 12x will give us negative 4x. And we still have the plus 12 here. We're going to start by rewriting the expression. We know that x plus 3 all squared means that we are multiplying x plus 3 by itself. Now we can start by multiplying the last two brackets. So x times 3 is 3x squared. Then x times negative 2 is negative 2x. Then we have 3 times 3x, which is 9x. And positive 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Before we continue multiplying out, we're going to add the like terms in the second set of brackets. So negative 2x plus 9x will give us positive 7x, and we still have this negative 6. Now we can multiply the remaining brackets. So in this way. So x times 3x squared will give us 3x cubed. X times 7x is 7x squared. X times negative 6 is negative 6x. 3 times 3x squared will give us 9x squared. 3 times 7x will give us 21x. And positive 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. The final step is to add the like terms. So 7x squared plus 9x squared. And of course we still have the 3x cubed here. 7x squared plus 9x squared will give us plus 16x squared. Then negative 6x plus 21x is plus 15x. And we still have the negative 18 here as well. Here we are told that this expression is equivalent to this one. And we need to find the values of A, B, and C. So let's start by writing that down. So this expression is equivalent to this one. Now, note on the right-hand side, we are given the constant. It's negative 18. So the secret to solving this problem is to multiply out the constants on the left-hand side. So basically, A times 2 times 3. So A times 2 is 2A times 3 is 6A. So that means that 6A on the left-hand side must equal negative 18 on the right-hand side. In other words, the constant on the left-hand side must equal the constant on the right-hand side. Here we can solve for A. We can divide the 6 into the right-hand side. And now we see that A comes to negative 3. Now we simply plug negative 3 in for A on the left-hand side and multiply out. So we put negative 3 here where we have an A. Now we know that this must come to the right-hand side here. We multiply out on the left-hand side. So we can first do these two brackets. So we're going to keep x minus 3 for now. So multiplying out, x times 2x is 2x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 2 times 2x is 4x. And 2 times 3 is 6. We can add the like terms here. So 3x plus 4x is 7x. We complete multiplying out on the left-hand side. So we're going to multiply x with each term in the second set of brackets here. So x times 2x squared, x times 7x, x times 6. Then negative 3 times 2x squared, negative 3 times 7x, and negative 3 times 6. And of course, we need a negative 18 here. Now we can add like terms on the left-hand side. So 7x squared minus 6x squared is 1x squared. 6x minus 21x is minus 15x. And of course, we have negative 18. Now we compare coefficients on the left-hand side with those on the right-hand side. The x squared coefficient on the left-hand side is positive 1. On the right-hand side, it's b. So we know that b must equal 1. So b is equal to 1. Then looking at the c on the right-hand side, it's an x coefficient, or the x coefficient. On the left-hand side, the x coefficient is negative 15. So we know that c must equal negative 15. In number 26, we are told that these two expressions are equivalent, and we need to find the values of P, Q, and R. So let's start by writing them down as equivalent. Now, notice that on the right-hand side, we are given the value of the constant. So the key here is to multiply out the constants on the left-hand side and make it equal to the constant on the right-hand side. So we're going to multiply 2 by P and then by -2. So 2 times P is 2P times -2 is -4P. And this is the constant on the left-hand side, so it must equal the constant on the right-hand side. Now we can solve for P by dividing -12 by -4. A negative divided by negative is a positive, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So now that we have the value of P, we can plug it back into the left-hand side here. And this must come to the right-hand side. Now we multiply out the right-hand side. And we can first multiply out these two brackets. So x times 3x is 3x squared. X times -2 is -2x. 3 times 3x is 9x. And 3 times -2 is -6. We can simplify inside the brackets here. We can add like terms. So -2x plus 9x is positive 7x. We can multiply each term in the first set of brackets here by each term in the second set of brackets. So x times 3x squared, x times 7x, x times -6, then 2 times 3x squared, 2 times 7x, and 2 times -6. We can add like terms here on the left-hand side. 7x squared plus 6x squared is plus 13x squared. -6x plus 14x is plus 8x. Now we can compare coefficients. The x squared coefficient on the left-hand side is positive 13. And on the right-hand side, it is q. So, therefore, we know that q must equal 13. So, the coefficients on the left-hand side for x squared must equal the coefficient on the right-hand side for x squared. Then, similarly, the x coefficient on the left-hand side is positive 8. On the right-hand side, it's r. So then we know that r is equal to 8. We can start by multiplying out these brackets in the usual way. So x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Then positive 1 times x is positive x. And positive 1 times positive 2 is positive 2. Now we can multiply out or multiply the 2x into this set of brackets. So positive 2x times x is positive 2x squared, and positive 2 times negative 3. A plus times a minus is a minus, so this is negative 6x. Now we add like terms. So these are like terms. X squared plus 2x squared is 3x squared. Now we can add the x's. So 2x plus x is 3x, minus 6x is negative 3x. And then of course we still have the plus 2 here.